وبركاته. This is lecture number 6 in children's literature. So most welcome back, and now real business. That is to say, we have said goodbye temporarily to the characteristics of children's literature. Now our major interest from lecture number 6 until lecture number 14 will be 8 lectures will be devoted to the novel itself, inshallah. How many chapters do we have in the novel? How many chapters do we have in the novel? That's a question. A very silly but interesting and useful one for those who want to get marks easily. How many chapters does the Railway Children consist of? Is it 14 or 15 or 16 or 17? Okay, the right answer is 14. How many chapters do we have again? How many chapters does the Railway Children consist of? The novel consists of 14 chapters. Now back to business, the novel itself. The story of the Railway Children concerns a family. This is a very brief idea in general about the story, and I will give you a brief idea about the chapter 1, and then we will discuss chapter 1 in detail. So, a general idea about the novel. The story concerns a family who moved to Three Chimneys. Three Chimneys is the name of their new house. In England, some houses are given a name like this, Three Chimneys, and the name itself is very interesting. A chimney is a pipe from which the smoke of the hearth of the machines at home where smoke goes out. Three Chimneys. House near the railway. The house itself is located close to the railway line, in the same way that the house of the author was also quite close to the railway line. After the father, who works at the Foreign Office, is imprisoned as a result of being falsely accused of selling state secrets to the Russians, I have highlighted this section in the slide in red. I have given it a different color because there will be a question. What is the job of the father when the novel starts? He works at the Foreign Office, الخارجية. He works at the Foreign Office. When you work at the Foreign Office or the Home Office, you should be a very honest and loyal and trustworthy citizen, because you know many secrets about your own government and about your own country. And when you deal with people from other countries or other nations, you are not supposed at all to give away those secrets to foreigners. Somebody accuses father of having sold state secrets to the Russians, and this is a crime. Of course, in politics it is called high treason. This crime is called high treason. We could add this as a question. Father is falsely accused of selling state secrets to the Russians. This is, or this crime is called, what is it called, this crime? High treason. It is called high treason. Or is it called forgery? No. is it called high treason when you betray your own country, when you are not honest, when you are not loyal, when you are not trustworthy. Forgery when you falsify a document, when you give somebody a document as if it were real while in fact it is false. This is forgery. Or could we say greed? Just another option. The right answer, of course, is high treason. This is called high treason. Father is falsely accused of selling state secrets to the Russians. This crime is called high treason. And the novel consists of 14 chapters. Why has father been imprisoned? Why has father been imprisoned or taken prisoner? He has been accused of selling state secrets to the Russians. He killed his boss. He stole money from the government. He embezzled. No, he has been accused of selling state secrets to the Russians. The three children, this is a summary again, this is not the real text but a summary. The three children, Roberta, Bobby, that's her name, that's her, how they call her, Bobby, Peter and Phyllis, her favorite name is Phil. They find amusement in watching the trains on the nearby after father is taken away. They find amusement in watching the trains on the nearby railway line and waving to the passengers. They become friendly with someone called Albert Perks, the station porter, and with the old gentleman in the train who travels daily to and fro. They become friends with the station porter and with the old gentleman whose name we do not know so far, who regularly takes the 9:15 down train. He is eventually able to help prove their father's innocence, and the family is returned. By a mere stroke of luck, that old gentleman on the train, forms a kind of relationship with the children by smiling at them and waving at them. Also, they waved at him. We will see these interesting small details about the relationship between the children and that old gentleman in the body of our explanation, inshallah. By mere chance, he helps them to find their father and to prove that their father is innocent. And chapter 1, this is a summary of chapter 1. Like chapters that come at the beginning, chapter 1 is very important. It sets the setting, the topic, the plot, the story, the characters, the rudiments of the novel. The novel is like a project, a plan, a building, and you start building the novel from chapter 1. If you build it very well from the start, then everything will be easy and everybody will enjoy and appreciate and understand and value your own project. If not, if everything is mazy and hazy and confusing, then of course the novel will suffer. One night at their home in London, father, mother, Roberta, Peter and Phyllis are talking about Peter's broken model engine, and this is what really happens in the first 2 or 3 pages. They are talking about a small train that Peter has which has broken down, and father tries to fix it, and they are having a very nice chat together, and father is beginning to talk to them about when he was a child. While he is telling them about when he was a child, there is a knock at the door and people come inside. Father goes away to them there is a knock on the front door. Two gentlemen come to see father and talk for a long time with him awake. Children just hear voices coming to them, but they don't know what is going on. They suspect something wrong because father has never used such a loud voice before. Father speaks to them briefly, and then with mother, and then mysteriously leaves home. In an unknown, strange way, he leaves home. The next morning, mother leaves for London and returns in the evening. She has never left the children alone all this time. But after father is taken away, she leaves the children away and goes to London. She just comes back in the evening and she is very tired. She requests the children to be good while she is away and not to ask any questions about father. Several hurried weeks pass by, and one morning mother tells the children that they are moving to a little white house near railway line in the country. They take the train and arrive at the new home in the dark. This is a summary of chapter 1. So in the first part of the chapter, we are told that the children are very happy. They have a perfect father, a perfect mother, and they have every modern convenience around them in the house. There is electricity, there is a tiled passage, there is a dog, there are toys, there are games. Everybody is ready to play with them and to make them smile and laugh and to tell them stories, until suddenly the father is taken away, and then they have to adjust to the new life. What is the first chapter called? It is called The Beginning of Things. A very important title it is. And the last chapter, chapter 14 in the novel, is called The End. This is the beginning and this is the end. Remember, when I explained the plot before, there is something called the plot line. We have the beginning, and then we have the rising action until we reach the climax, and then the falling action, and then the denouement. It goes like this. This is the plot line. The very first sentence in the novel is also interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to remember what I said in lecture number 5. What did I say? I said the theoretical part of the course is important, but what is more important for us is to apply this to the novel. One of the things that we said in the theoretical section is that a writer for children has to use language that is unfamiliar. He has to be interesting all the time, like a very good teacher like myself. You have to alternate between classical teaching, talking, and students listening and taking notes, and giving them a part of a movie, a video clip, something to listen to, something to work on. You have to ask the children to move with you away from the place you originally started with. You have to variegate your position and your approach to the children so they can have their attention arrested all the time. Otherwise, they will easily lose that kind of interest and they will never be excited. So from the very beginning of the novel, the writer says they were not railway children to begin with. Actually, in grammar, you should say, to begin with, they were not railway children, but she chooses to order the sentence. The word order of the sentence is like this. They were not railway children to begin with. What do we have here? We have negation. They were not. What is the title of the novel again? Remind me, Kira? The Railway Children. And here she says they were not railway children to begin with. She is talking to an addressee. Who is the addressee here? To whom is she speaking? She's speaking to children, about other children. The novel is called The Railway Children, but she says they were not railway children to begin with. To do something like this, to start in an unfamiliar way, then you have captured the interest of the children and they begin to open their eyes and mouth and mind and heart. Then you have arrested them. You have taken them as prisoners in front of you. You hold their attention. And then she says, I. After doing this, after being victorious, the writer says, I don't suppose they had ever thought about railways. I here, and you notice that it has a different color too, the I of the narrative voice. The one speaking to us, the one speaking to the children is the narrative voice here, and it is in the first personal pronoun. I don't suppose they had ever thought about railways in their entire life before. They had nothing to do with railways. Why? Because they lived with their father and mother and they were happy and they didn't need the railways in their life. They just used the railways as a means of getting to certain attractions like Masculine and Cook's, the Pantomime Zoological Gardens, and Madame Tussauds. They were just ordinary suburban children and they lived with their father and mother in an ordinary red brick fronted villa. And she begins to describe for us the villa in which they lived. Colored glass, tiled passage, a bathroom, French electric bills, French windows, and a good deal of white paint. She concentrates on colors, you know. She concentrates on things that can be touched so the children can imagine. And to sum up, because she could go on, the list can continue forever. And every modern convenience, as the house agents say. I said that before. They had everything in front of them. They lacked nothing. I'm repeating the same thing again. They were not railway children to begin with. The narrative voice starts the book with an unfamiliar sentence, totally unexpected. This is one way of arousing the interest of children. The novel is called The Railway Children, and yet it begins with a negation of this fact. It begins by saying that they are not railway children to begin with, to arouse our attention using a different medium, using negation. It's called The Railway Children, and yet it begins with negation. Why? That's a question. To arouse the interest of children, or because the writer is fond of negation, or to show that children hate trains, or to attract attention to trains. No, to arouse the attention or the interest of children. This is the right answer, number one. I don't suppose they had ever thought about railways. In this is what the writer says. This is what the narrative voice, which has a different color. This is what the narrative voice says. I don't suppose they had ever thought about railways. Never. I don't think they ever thought about railways. In this introductory sentence again, we have a glimpse of the narrative voice. At the start of the novel, it is a minor voice, a small one, just I, that does not interfere much in the events or the story. But we will discover that later on, it will be very close to children. We will understand how. Now, it is just I. It is just a narrative voice. It is just one angle of vision from which the novel is narrated. Later on, when there is no father, when there is no mother, she being very busy, children will listen to the narrative voice, or we will see everything from the point of view of the narrative voice and the children. There were three of them. As you can see now, I select a few passages from the novel in order to comment on. You have to read the novel from cover to cover, of course, if you have time. But the sections, the passages that I quote here and explain are very important, and if you just concentrate on them and understand them, it will be enough, inshallah. I will receive questions, many questions about this point, and here is my answer again. If you analyze and appreciate and understand the quotations I select from the novel here in the PowerPoint presentations. If you understand them, that would be good. But if you read more in the text itself, that would be better. There were three of them. Then there is to say the children. Roberta was the eldest. Notice that when the narrative voice introduces the characters to us, she begins with the children. She doesn't begin with the father or the mother, because this is the railway children. This is a book for children. It concentrates on the point of view of children, not the point of view of father and mother. There were three of them, and with every child we are given a piece of information. Every child is introduced with just one sentence, like here. Roberta was the eldest, the oldest child. She is 14. Of course, mothers never have favorites. That's a generalization. And she says, of course, because now there is some sort of a strong relationship between the narrative voice and the children, so she can say, of course. Of course, we all know that mothers never have favorites. But if their mother had a favorite, which means that she didn't have, it might have been Roberta. Next came, so Roberta is her mother's favorite, and that is why I have given the word favorite a different color. Next came Peter. What is the one sentence, the one major thing about Peter with which we are introduced to his character? He wished to be an engineer. He's a child, true, like Roberta. But we are just given one aspect about him to arouse our interest, and so we can know the major tenor of his character, the major thing that controls him, that governs him. He wants to be an engineer, like his father. Or you mean this is the job of males in general, to be engineers. So he wanted to confirm himself, to achieve himself as a man as a boy that grows into a man by becoming an engineer. And then when he grew up, and the youngest was Phyllis, also known as Phil, who meant extremely well, and we will understand that about her later. She was kind-hearted, innocent, and so on. Like the first sentence, the way the writer introduces herself is also unfamiliar and interesting. This is my comment on the previous sentence. How she introduces characters. This is interesting, of course, and unfamiliar, just giving us one fact about each child. That is also done in an interesting way. And here we have a wonderful description of mother. She begins to talk to us about mother. What kind of mother is she? Is she like all other mothers and women in the 19th century? What about other mothers and women in the 19th century? Dull, boring ones, unemployed, having nothing to do, even nothing to read. They were just waiting for husbands, and they were limited to certain things like playing on the piano, playing music, knitting, doing embroidery, making puddings, as Charlotte Bronte says. But here, mother is different. Mother did not spend all her time in paying dull calls to dull ladies and sitting dully at home waiting for dull ladies to pay calls to her. What a wonderful passage this one is. To pay a call, that is to say, to pay a visit, to visit. So she did not, remember, they were not railway children to begin with. Here, mother did not spend all her time like other women in paying dull calls, in visiting dull ladies. Dull, dull, dully, dull. 4 times the word dull is repeated. Dull means boring. She didn't spend all her time in paying dull calls to dull ladies. So other ladies are dull. And sitting dully at home waiting for dull ladies to pay calls to her, and we can understand that the word calls can be described here as dull as well. She was different. She was almost always there, ready to play with the children and read to them and help them to do their home lessons. My question about this interesting passage is this: what is the difference between she was almost always there and she was always there? Think about it. Do you know an answer? She was almost always there. طيب, she was always there. The novel has a lot of verisimilitude. Verisimilitude means things as they can be, not things as they are. It means realism. It means that the writer is realistic. It means that the writer understands that no mother on earth can be always there, because mothers have to spend some time for themselves. No mother can be there 24 hours, 7 days a week for her children. You cannot play all the time with the children, you cannot read all the time, you cannot help them to do their home lessons all the time. But if she had the time, she used to be there for them, so she was almost always there. Besides this, she used to write stories for them while they were at school and read them aloud after tea, and she always made up funny pieces of poetry for their birthdays and for other great occasions, such as the christening of the new kittens or the refurnishing of the doll's house or the time when they were getting over the mumps. So she was a perfect mother, different from other women, paying a lot of attention to the children. Mother did not spend all her time, she was almost always there. It means the writer supports feminism in an indirect way. Oh, very interesting point. In the novel, in an indirect way, the writer is saying, now I want women to be like this mother. I want women to be different. I want women to take an interest in their own personalities and in the personalities of their own family members, taking care of themselves. She is also very realistic because she is not always there. Almost always. And this is different, of course. Feminism. Does the novel support feminism? Yes, it does. It supports the right of women. Women have to be free. Women have to achieve themselves. Women have to be different. Women must not be boring. Does the writer support feminism in the novel? That's the same question I have just finished. Does she support feminism or not? Yes, she does, in an indirect way. Or she is very realistic, or she does that in a direct way, or no, she does not. The right answer is yes, she does that in an indirect way. Has she said women are better than men and stuff? No, she has done that in a very indirect way. The narrative voice is an important aspect of the novel. It creates an atmosphere of storytelling. It is just there for fun. It has nothing to do with the story. The right answer is number one. There is an atmosphere of storytelling. Mother was almost always there. She never slept? No. She was always with her kids? No. She spent most of her time with her kids? True. The right answer is the third one. They also had a father who was just a perfect father. Perfect. What is the definition of perfect for children? A perfect father is a father who gives them clothes, toys, money, plays with them, and so on. But perfect for us as adults means responsible, working, successful at work, listening to the children, and so on. The point of view here is the point of view of children. Perfect from which point of view? The point of view of children. Never cross, never angry, always smiling, never unjust. Using never, always. Understand? Always. You will notice that the writer makes frequent use of such qualifiers and modifiers because they help the narrative voice to capture, to register the generalization of children. Children like generalization. They like those absolute judgments. If you ask your kid, how much do you love mommy? He would say, just as big as this, you know? They like generalization. Just perfect. Never cross, never unjust. And explain the reason to the children so interestingly and funnily that they felt sure he couldn't help himself. Father is only perfect from the point of view of the children. This is realistic once more. For the children, father was just perfect. He used to get high marks at school? No. He wanted his children to be perfect? No. He knew what his kids needed, so they considered him perfect, which is true. You will think, this is the narrative voice now approaching little by little. You will think, notice here, think, know, live, development of the verb. You will think that they ought to have been very happy. With a family like this, you as a child will think that those children must be very happy. And so they were. Really, this is true. They were happy. But they did not know how happy till the pretty life in the Red Valley was over and done with. They didn't. This is realistic again. This is the habit of children and people in general. They do not understand that they are happy until their life changes. And they had to live a very different life indeed. See? Very indeed. Qualifier. Generalization. And in one sentence, the writer says, the dreadful change came quite suddenly. There is a sudden change that will stop their life from continuing like this. We are full of enthusiasm and excitement and suspense, right? We want to know how their life changed dreadfully and dramatically. The answer is so interesting. Instead of talking to us about the change, which is dramatic, the writer says Peter had a birthday, his 10th. Is this a dramatic change? Is this a dreadful, horrible change? You have to remember all the time that the writer is talking to children, and children mustn't be shocked. They must not be shocked. They must be taught gradually, carefully. Do you understand? And instead of shocking them with the change, she begins to talk about the birthday of Peter. Peter had a birthday, his 10th. This sentence explains the real change that has taken place in the life of the children, or is a very fine technique used by the writer to explain the change gradually to children, or has no meaning. The one in the middle is correct. It's a very good way of talking to children. Mother began to be afraid that he might be sickening for measles when suddenly he sat up in bed and said, he gets sick. He has his birthday, but now he seems to be sick. And as a sick child, he has a lot of attention from mother. She gives him some kinds of foods. Not all foods can be eaten by children who are sick. And he says, I hate gruel, I hate barley water, I hate bread and milk. I want to get up and have something real to eat. He is an interesting child. A mother, an ordinary mother, would say, stop it, you're sick. I cannot give you something real to eat. What does she say? What would you like? Mother asked with a smile. A pigeon pie. And then eagerly, a large pigeon pie, a very large one. The whole dialogue is a form of verisimilitude. This is realistic. Children can do that. And the repetition, remember, a pigeon pie, a large pigeon pie, a very large pigeon pie. So she asked the cook to make a large pigeon pie. The pie was made, and when the pie was made, it was cooked. And when it was cooked, Peter ate some of it. See, storytelling, interesting storytelling. And then mother begins to write and read a poem about Peter and his sickness for the children. She was almost always there for the children. This is before father is taken away. The period of happiness the children spent at home came to an end with the arrest of the father. It was also very short-lived. The children did not notice the change in their life due to the responsible behavior of the mother. Mother was different from all other mothers at the time. This is a summary. Father and mother have been perfect according to children's definition of perfection. Father is always there for children, playing with them and fixing their engines, and mother also spends almost all her time with them. They are not always there. No, they are described as being almost always there. Very realistic. The novel can be said to enjoy a lot of very similitude. Of course, this has been a very interesting part of the story and of the course, a very interesting lecture, I hope. Thank you very much. We will meet very soon with lecture number 7, inshallah, in which we will discuss the poem that mother has written to the children. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.